Gamesir G7 versus G7se. Which one should you get? Let's find out. So the G7se currently costs $45 and 37 British pounds on the Gamesir's website. You get a very premium USB-A to USB-C cable, which is white in color. You can opt for an extra black or white faceplate, but that will cost you $50 or 41 pounds. The normal G7 is priced at $45 or 37 pounds, and that's from Gamesir's direct website. You get black USB-A to USB-C cable and one extra white faceplate as well. So let's talk about ergonomics. The G7 weighs 225 grams on my scales compared to the G7se, which weighs 221 grams. So a tiny bit heavier. You don't feel it actually, but what's different is it has rubberized texture grips at the back. So holding it in hand actually is a little bit of a different feeling, especially like this inside part, your ring finger and the little finger, like the grip feels very nice. The downside of the rubber grips that I learned is basically the heat accumulation. So holding this for a period of time, yeah, you do feel your grip sort of get warm a little bit, especially if you go back and forth. So if I put this down, even right now, just picking this up, I can tell you this feels much more cooler, the G7se, because it doesn't have those rubber grips. This is just textured plastic. The texture is quite nice. It's actually quite rough, and yeah, it does provide you with a grip. And the other thing that's different here is there are back button locks on the G7se, so you can actually lock it, and it doesn't just disable the button, it actually makes it that it doesn't even move a tiny bit. So if you don't like the feeling, if you really want to grip your controller and you don't like the feeling, even just disabling it, and whilst gaming you don't like that press, you have this option here. And especially if you play claw, let's say, you can disable them, grip the controller in your claw grip, and gain one button on the other side. So something to be said about the ergonomics here. But in all honesty, using them side by side, so played a lot, going back and forth, I don't think the SE not having the rubber grips is a big deal for me. So I would definitely say that when it comes to ergonomics and in-hand feel, this would be a tie. I don't think you're losing that much. So on the SE, you lose the clicky ABXY buttons and the D-pad. So these are membrane ones. These are the face buttons, have text switches. I can't find what sort of life ratings these have. But yeah, that's one thing I will say, that the G7S, so it has the clicky micro switches rated for 5 million presses, these ones. The D-pad, however, is not the same micro switch. It's like a text switch. I can't find any rating on this one. But yeah, it's not the membrane one. Could be a big thing for people who use them a lot. For me, especially playing FPS games, that's what I mainly do. I didn't miss it that much, if I'll be honest. You know, when I was logging into my profile, yeah, you pressing them and stuff, but gaming, I don't think it's a big deal for me. That's just for me. I mean, if it's for you, then yeah, that's something that you'll get on the G7, and you are missing on the SE. Trigger and bumpers are identical. They have nice texture places, so using them is not a problem. Unfortunately, we don't have trigger stops on both of them, but there are, like, you know, software options to reduce or the dead zones, the maximum dead zones and stuff, and there's a hair trigger option as well. They work absolutely perfectly. Bumpers are actually very nice. They have this tiny bit here that has some texture. So, you know, using them in Call of Duty for field upgrades and stuff always worked for me. Never had a mispress or whatever. So, yeah, very good, well-functioning triggers and bumpers. I just honestly wish that if they gave us trigger stops, this would be absolutely amazing, because both have Hall effect triggers. That means they can even probably take out 90% of the trouble, like the Elite Series 2. And still have a register, like a full 100% register. That would have been absolutely amazing. Okay, I want to introduce a new segment in my controller reviews. Basically, I want to show you guys how a controller sounds whilst you're gaming to others in the room. Is it quite annoying for others? Because in my place, my wife is sometimes complaining that, oh, it's too loud, what are you doing? Because, you know, in hectic situations. So I'm just going to play a couple of clips playing on both of these now. Okay, I hope you found that useful. I just like in my case, it's a thing. There are other people around me, and I use open back headset as well. So some of the sound does come into when I'm gaming, and I do notice that the higher price controllers, this is a bit of a quality thing where some controllers are a bit more dampened in certain things, and some controllers are a bit loud. So I hope that was useful. Now let's talk about thumbsticks and the main sort of difference between these two. G7, the normal G7, is the cheapest controller with back buttons that has ELPS thumbsticks modules. Now, ELPS, when it comes to potentiometer sticks, they're actually rated for 2 million rotations and 500,000 button presses. And you have controllers like the Power A Enhanced, the PDP Rematch, and to my surprise, even the Turtle Beach Recon, they are using Polyshine Favor Union sticks, and Favor Union Polyshine, they have 2 stick modules, so they have like a lower quality one and a high quality one, but these cheaper controllers are using the lower quality one, and they rate it for only 1 million rotation and 100,000 button presses. So well done, Gamesir, for giving us, at the price point this controller is at, like higher potentiometer sticks. Okay, so this is definitely going for this. And now, of course, with the G7se is the first ever licensed Xbox controller using the K-Silvers. I think K-Silver manufacturing the Gully Kits split type, the magnetic Hall effect sticks, and these are like the newer module JH16. So this is like the main sort of attraction, I think, on the G7se. Now, in my initial review, I did mention I felt something was off. Since then, I've made a video with the update of what's going on. One thing I will say, if you're playing FPS games coming to this, yes, there is a bit of a difference. Currently, the raw mode, like I explained in my aim update, it's a bit finicky. I personally think it's buggy at the moment, the raw mode, what it's doing. But I have found that if you are not using precisioning like I was, this is actually a really good controller. Like, if you get used to this, little bit different, the response curve is a bit different. I explained what I had to do in Call of Duty. I had to reduce the outer dead zones in-game, not in Gamesir Nexus. And I have said that my recommendation is you disable the dead zone in Gamesir Nexus software. Completely 0 in the middle, and the maximum outside, don't use raw mode, use 100. Now that's helped a lot. Since then, I've done another thing because I do really like the precision rings. And so I mentioned in my update that these thumbstick modules, when you put a precision ring here, these sits tiny little bit lower than the ELP sticks. So it's a bit tight fit. So what I ended up doing was my second faceplate from the G7, I basically just take out this anti-friction ring from the faceplate, and I install that one, and I use a precision ring, and it works absolutely perfectly for me. I have no issues whatsoever. I can actually use this controller now with precision rings. So yeah, it's taking some time to basically get to that good experience that we know from like good controllers, like good calibrated sticks. It's nice. One thing I have noticed, so I think the button inside is right in the middle of the module. So that press is a little bit deeper, feels a little bit deeper on the SE. When we come to the normal G7, because these are ELF sticks, that button is like on the side. It's very shallow, the press. So that's one thing that I noticed. But here with the G7, we have the normal ELF sticks. They're good out of the box. They have about 7% register. So let's talk about the stick drifting as well very quickly. So 7% at rest position, yeah, you will say like, it's a stick drift. But in all honesty, I think if you only have the drift at rest position, I don't think that's game breaking. Like every controller I have, unless they have built-in dead zones like the Victrix Gambit or the PDP Rematch, or even the Wolverine V2 has an option to basically have the dead zones there from the Razer software. Every stick, every controller will have some. So it has like, it was 6%, like 6 to 7% out of box. And I have a week's worth of gaming on this one. When I got the normal SE, this had 3%, and I have put a lot of time on it. Just out of curiosity, what was going wrong with it. So I actually put a lot of time on this one. And this one now has anywhere between 5 and 7%. So yeah, it's the springs are getting looser. But I have a feeling that this might be the max. I think the 5 to 7% thing with the spring, this probably will be the maximum this will have. I will update you guys. I'll make some videos 3 months later and stuff, like how it's going. But it's just like my personal feeling, like it will stay there. With the elf sticks, so I don't know. I think they can go up to 10% even, 8-9%. I mean, the maximum I have experienced is like 8-9%, and that's on my Elite Series 1, and that's like a 7-year-old controller. So yeah, there is that. But playing-wise, this will feel very familiar. You like playing on the raw mode. It's a very, very good experience on the G7. But I have to say, since the firmware updates, yes, we are getting, it's not a bad experience on the SE as well. We're getting there. So final thoughts, guys. I think as gamers, we are in a unique position right now. We have the option, we can, go with the familiar stuff and buy the G7, or we can go for the SE and send a clear message to the other manufacturers that we are serious. We are done with the stick drift issue. We want this change. And this is a perfect opportunity. The normal G7 has an extra faceplate. Someone could say like, oh, rubber grips are an extra feature. The clicky buttons are, something that people might enjoy. But if we still choose to buy the SE, we're sending a message saying that, yeah, this is the main thing that we care about. And yes, like I mentioned, there are differences. The response curve, it's a little bit different, but trust me, I'm hoping that, the raw mode will get fixed, the tuning. Like right now, this is the one I'm trying to put a lot more time in. Especially I'm trying to test the button presses and stuff, like what that's going to be like, because I want to do like updates on this. This is, like I said, it's a very unique product currently. So I know it's not very expensive controller, but still, money is money, right? We work hard for our money, and so if we are spending, we have this unique position right now where we can vote through our wallets and say that, yeah, we want this problem solved, and go for the SE. If you're only buying one, yeah, of course, if you don't want to get used to of like a new thing or whatever, the G7 is an amazing deal. I'm just actually surprised that I never reviewed it. I actually just got it because I just wanted to see what's happening, with the SE. But yeah, so this is my advice. Like, if you are on the fence, think about that. Think about like, what I'm sure Gamesir is collecting the data and everything. They're seeing how the market is going. So yeah, if you are on the fence, honestly, think about that. For me, if I could buy one, now that I've experienced this, and yeah, it's got its issues and stuff, but right now, if I had $45, 37 pounds, and I could buy one controller, I myself would go for the SE, just for the reason that, yeah, I don't, I want this to be the future thing. I do hope the raw mode will get fixed, and I do hope we get more support on this. But like I said, if you don't want to get used to the new thing and you're worried about it, yeah, G7, my God, it's really, really good controller. Well, that's everything from me, guys. I didn't want to make like a very long video. I've already have a long sort of like video explaining everything on the SE. You can check that out, like the back buttons and everything. So you can do that. But yeah, that's basically everything. I just want to say that I really love your support. Thank you so much to everybody who subscribed. Actually means a lot. And thank you so much for watching this video. I hope the info was useful. If you have any questions, if I left anything out, please do leave me a comment. Yeah, thanks a lot for watching this video. Hopefully I'll catch you in one of my other videos. Bye for now.